Well, on AM News this morning, the National Public Health and Reference Laboratory in Accra will now be able to conduct sequencing of SARS-CoV-2, the virus which causes COVID-19. Sequencing has helped identify new variants or strains of the virus and helped medical experts to amend their management of the disease as appropriate. Until now, only the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, the West Africa Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens at the University of Ghana, and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology had the capacity to conduct genomic sequencing of the virus to establish its changing characteristics to help in the effective management of the disease. Let's listen to Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji, when he took delivery of the equipment for the National Public Health and Reference Laboratory.
At the beginning of the pandemic, as a service, our drive was to ensure that we don't just fight the virus now, but also prepare for the next one. And so as part of our response, we ensure that we built in capacity so that we'll be better off now. And I can say that our response, our preparation is much better today than in March last year when we saw our first case. And this has not happened this has happened with strong support from CDC and other partners. CDC has helped us establish our national EOC, helped us establish regional EOCs, and then we've also expanded our laboratories. When we started with COVID, we had only 2 labs, academic labs. Our objective to ensure that by the time we finish with the response, we are also ready as a public service, be able to all the time be able to work well to identify emerging diseases, get this, the stereotypes that we are getting so that we can respond better. We've been doing this with meningitis, but this has helped us now. So with the support with the molecular labs and the EOCs, we are now going to do sequencing. And so we are able to always be on top of whatever we do, and then we can also tailor our messages, our responses into the need of the current system. So I want to use this opportunity to thank you for this important support that really goes to improve our capacity to respond. This support also helped us keep the regional capacity has expanded so that they do not have to wait for the national level instruction, but they are able to tape up responses and also act as quickly as they need be.
Now, Thursday's downpour in Kumasi did not only affect the traveling public, but impacted adversely on the ongoing AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccination exercise. Frustrated residents who queued at vaccination centers hoping to access the second dose of the vaccine were left stranded for several hours as the exercise suffered delays. Our Ming Tui of our health desk report, health authorities have been compelled to extend the deadline for the 5-day exercise.
The ongoing AstraZeneca vaccination exercise suffered a slow start on Wednesday, with few residents turning up for the exercise. Thursday was expected to be different as enthusiastic residents converged at the centers in anticipation of being vaccinated, but a downpour forced the exercise to delay for several hours. After enduring several hours in wait occasioned by the rain, some got worried.
Yatena fitia nopa be 7 ebe nyina ema ensuo ebe bo ye bla ye nyina ye wo ha sei na wo senke ye hwesen ko mbitimi aba ye nchen no ma ba be ka bibi a kire se o bibi senti obi amfi.
The widespread delay has compelled health authorities to extend deadline for the exercise. Ashanti Regional Deputy Health Director in charge of public health, Dr. Michael Roxane-J, tells JoyNews the delay caused by an act of God is widespread.
The rains actually disrupted the start of campaigns today, and we've received report because our officers are on the ground moving around, and we are even considering extending the period of vaccination due to these hitches, acts of God, rains, and also some technological hitches we've had in the start of the campaign. So we are considering extending this to somewhere early next week. And for those who have had some slow start of the campaign, they are stepping up mobilization by moving around with vans to actually draw patrons to the centers to be vaccinated. So we are combining multiple strategies, including mobile campaign, to ensure that we get people vaccinated.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyemi reporting.
The Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization, Nana Ajimang-Prempeh, has appealed to residents living along the White Volta to move and join relatives and friends for the period that the Bagre Dam will be spilled. He says with the heavy rains that have poured this week, there is the possibility the dam will be spilled anytime soon. Northern Region's Martina Bugre reports.
The Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization made the appeal when he visited some chiefs to appreciate the effort they are putting in sensitizing their people on the havoc the spillage would cause. He said disasters are natural, but there are some measures that can be put in place to mitigate its effect.
Northern part of the country, you know already the whole land is saturated with floods all over the northern part of the country, and we are worried. We as NADMO and government is worried because one, we are losing lives, and two, the good people of this part of the country are harvesting their maize and other crops immaturely, which is not a good thing because it might affect the local food problems and food security in the country. So we are worried. But it is a natural disaster. There's nothing you can do about it. As you recall, quite recently, in Europe, all European countries experienced floods. In America, in New York City, everywhere we experience floods. That is a natural disaster. But we can prevent some of the effects, and that is why we are here. We are doing sensitization all over the place so that people, especially those who are living along the rivers, will move to go and stay with their friends and relatives for the period the Bagre Dam will be spilled. We all know the Bagre Dam is full at any moment from now. If the rain doesn't stop, we're going to get the spillage.
They are sure that government is ready with much relief to lessen the effects of the spillage on its residents.
I know the media is always quick to ask questions about relief items when there's a disaster. But when there is a disaster, the first thing you look at is the search and rescue aspect of it. Then we do assessment to know which kinds of relief items you should send to a particular place. But I want to assure you that government and NADMO is ready with much relief items to respond to mitigate whatever the effects. Thank you.
The chief of Tolong, Alhaji Yakubu Alhassan Tali, thanked NADMO for recognizing their effort and assured that they will continue to support in every bit. He blamed some of the disasters on shoddy work done by contractors and choked drains.
As you to see, there are bad contracts awards, but are possible. We won't award the contracts to people to work on the roads, to work on this. There building and then sharing about who we are going to do on silver. There are no more benefit than just excuse me to say awarded the contract to party. That's something.
Veterinary authorities in the Benue East region are on high alert over a possible outbreak of avian influenza, popularly known as bird flu, in the region. Regional Veterinary Officer Dr. Anthony Setutu, in an interview with JoyNews, noted district officers in the region have been instructed to put in monitoring mechanisms to prevent an outbreak of the disease in the region. There's more in the following report.
Veterinary authorities in the Benue East region are instituting measures capable of preventing the outbreak of avian influenza, popularly known as bird flu, in the region. Regional Veterinary Officer Dr. Anthony Osetutu told JoyNews that the department is monitoring the influx of birds into the region as well as the condition of birds within the various farms across the region.
To date, 5 regions in the country have recorded cases of outbreak of bird flu, namely Greater Accra region, Volta region, Central region, Western North and Ashanti region. Bono East region so far has not recorded avian influenza. I have tasked my district officers to be on the alert and look out for farms which are recording high mortality rates, so that they will send samples to us. When I will further send it to Accra Veterinary Laboratory for further testing to authenticate whether we have the outbreak of the virus, that is bird flu, in our region or not.
The department is also organizing sensitization workshops for farmers to educate them on various preventive measures to save their farms from the possible outbreak of the flu.
Plans are afoot to organize sensitization programs, education programs, to advise them on measures that they've got to put in place to prevent the virus, that is the bird flu virus, from affecting their birds. We have started at the official office level, and sooner than later we'll move to radio stations. We'll organize training workshop for them to ensure that they go by the biosecurity measures to ensure that bird flu is prevented from our region.
Dr. Antonio Osei-Tutu, however, cautioned the public to consume only well-cooked chicken and chicken products to stay safe from infections.
I have to say emphatically that in this era, where we have outbreak of bird flu in other regions, which haven't got into my region, Bono East, yet, I'll say to all the public that they can consume chicken and chicken products, but except that they must be very well cooked before they consume them. We know that the virus, bird flu, the infection is of viral origin, and the virus dies at temperature between 60 and 70. And we know that well-cooked foods, chicken and chicken product, is at 100 degrees Celsius. So that if we adhere to such regulation that we must cook them very well at 100 degrees, the virus would have died, and therefore the product becomes suitable for consumption.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Tichiman.
The minority in Parliament is readying itself for a battle with government over the proposed establishment of the Ghana Development Bank. The group has served notice it will not accept any public resources dedicated to the setting up of the bank, describing ongoing recruitment as shrouded in secrecy. JoyNews is learning government in the 2021 budget allocated 300 million cedis as seed money for the bank, which is yet to take off. Again, government has decided it will not seek parliamentary approval for the setting up of the bank, but will rather use the Registrar General's Department for the necessary approvals. The minority leader, Harun Idrisu, tells JoyNews government is only running away from parliamentary accountability and scrutiny.
A national development bank, in principle, can be established publicly or privately, and it can be by legislation or through the Registrar General Department, as we are hearing. But it appears to me that on the matter of the National Development Bank, Ken Ofori-Atta, the Minister of Finance, is simply running away from parliamentary scrutiny and parliamentary accountability.
Why do you say that?
The primary question to ask is whether or not this bank is being funded with taxpayers' money and public money or not. I'm aware that some COVID resources of up to 300 million Ghana cedis in the 2020-2021 review budget have been allocated for the establishment of the National Development Bank. We in the minority are opposed to even the concept of a new National Development Bank. If you have funding, adequately capitalize and finance the existing banks to make them more viable in order that they can invest and provide credit to the private sector. The economic win of the private sector, as I've always said and maintained, is access to credit and the cost of credit. Now, you don't want public or civil servants to play any role. As I heard Klegok, an official of the Ministry of Finance, speaking at ISA. Now, you cannot run a national development bank as if that was an extension of a data bank. I mean, somewhere, quite clearly, that is legally untenable. But the reason you should know further that the Agri Development Bank was established in 1965 by an Act of Parliament, Act 286. The Ghana Exim Bank, which was established under the NDC to support export financing, was established in 2016 by Act 911. The National Investment Bank was established in 1963 by Act 163. So what best practice? Now, given our own experience and the contemporaneous issues of a financial sector clean-up, this is even when you need Parliament to regulate what the object of the bank will be, to regulate what the functions of the bank will be, so that they don't engage in fiscal irresponsible acts, and that they don't engage and dole out money as bad investment. You can only regulate that by law. So it's kind of defeatist for me, for the Ministry of Finance to want to establish this National Development Bank without recourse to Parliament. But will they come for Parliament to provide funding for it? What will be the basis for Parliament approving money for such a bank? Already, it means that the 300 million allocation is clearly illegal. You must have a legitimate lawful institution that Parliament can appropriate for. So I find the arguments of the Minister of Finance and his representative bizarre, and I'm saying that let's learn from our experiences that many of these banks have not lived up to expectation. We need legislation to strengthen the focus of the banks by way of defining their objects, by way of determining their functions, and more importantly, to direct that they engage in prudent capital investment and avoid bad investment with the use of state public resources and taxpayers' money. What? So the Minister for Finance must simply walk back to Parliament to do what is needful in law. I don't find his argument supported anywhere. Anywhere.
What is saying? All right, and that'll be it for the news for this morning. The show continues. As I indicated, Araba Combs will be joining me for the news review. Do stay tuned here.
My name is Kujo Yankson. Let me tell you how to turn back time. You can now bring back all the fun, all the excitement, all the controversy of the Super Morning Show and all your favorite Joy shows when you go to myjoyonline.com/podcasts. Just select your favorite show and bring it all back again. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Radio, Joy 99.7.
All right, so it's time for the news review, and I have Araba Kumsing joining me once again. Thank you very much. So yesterday you were just saying maybe you're joining me tomorrow, and then the day after tomorrow.
Is this going to be a trend? Well, I'm not opposed to that, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I'd love to have you.
How are you doing, Israel?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad it's a Friday.
Yeah.
We can get some rest.
Exactly. All right, let's get into the newspapers. Well, but before we get into the newspaper, I've been binging on ABBA. You know, ABBA has a new album.
Oh, the 70s group ABBA?
Exactly. They have a new album out. So we played a couple of them. So we played an old one. This one is just out the show. And then we played a new one.
Okay.
And the new one was posted or put up on YouTube. It was about 13 hours ago.
Wow.
And then it's clocked 3.2 million views already.
Is the song that nice?
It's lovely.
It's lovely.
Yeah,
I'll have to go and check it. But ABBA is an iconic band,
And the fact that it has clocked 3.2 million views in just a
few hours.
And so I'm like...
I'm sure a lot of people were anticipating it because, I mean, this is a great group.
Yeah.
They've been doing great songs.
Yeah.
I mean, legendary evergreen songs that we're still listening to today.
Exactly.
And then they decided to now come together again. I wonder why, though. I'll have to go check out the song.
All right, so let's get into the newspapers. You're going to start...
okay, so let's start with the Daily Graphic.
Yep.
You know, in Ghana, when they say newspaper, they say Daily Graphic. Good morning to all my friends at Daily Graphic. So, on the front page of Daily Graphic, halt fraudulent sale, registration of lands. President charges Lands Commission. And it has a picture of the President, President Akufo-Addo, swearing in members of the Lands Commission at the Jubilee House. Also, downpour recorded across the country. That's on page 13. Herbal treatment for COVID-19 in the Offin, and graphic Zoom Lion sanitation dialogue in Bono East today. On the black page, on the back page, rather, Black Stars need flying start against Ethiopia, and it has a picture of Coach Charles Akono, who's aiming to guide the team to a home win. But let's delve into the paper and a story we had on the 6 a.m. news on Joy 99.7 FM earlier today, just a few minutes ago. Health Ministry receives 244,800 additional doses of COVID-19 vaccines. And the story reads, it's by Doreen Ando, says the Ministry of Health yesterday took delivery of 244,800 additional doses of the Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccines. The single schedule vaccine was procured by the government through the AU African Vaccine Acquisition Trust, the AVAT initiative. It brings to 422,400 the doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccines received under the AVAT, including those from other sources. So in all, Ghana has taken delivery of 2,909,850 doses of COVID-19 vaccines comprising AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and Sputnik V. So that's on the middle pages of the Daily Graphic for you. But still on COVID-19, let's turn to page 13 because it reads herbal treatment for COVID-19 in the Offin, page 13. So it says the Center for Plant Medicine Research at Mampong, Ikuapem in the Eastern region, has made progress in the development of a herbal medicine for the treatment of COVID-19. Acting Director of the Center, Dr. Kofi Berima, who disclosed this, said his outfit was fast developing the herbal medicine and that it would bring great respite to Ghanaians when it was introduced. And that's good news. We're looking forward to it because we need to be self-sufficient. Yeah. We can't always be depending on other countries. And if this works out,
then yes, it's Ghana to the world. We can be exporting our herbal products
exactly,
to the world.
Exactly.
COVID.
Right. So let's see. Okay, the main story on the front page of Graphic, which is halt fraudulent sale and registration of lands. And you know, in Ghana, we have a lot of issues when it comes to land acquisition. There's so many issues. You can go and purchase land and then be given the documents only to find out that it belongs to somebody else. And this is you going through the process at the Lands Commission, you know, which is supposed to be the institution that, you know, has all the relevant and genuine documents. So you have these documents in your hand thinking you own a piece of land only for somebody else to come and clean it.
Sometimes you can actually own the land and everything else, but some land guards come around and they tell you that you have to pay them something before they have to, they would let you freely go about developing the property. So that's also a problem. And law enforcement has to also come in, because if somebody can come and forcibly take over land that actually belongs to you, right, or the land may be yours, because of the land guards who are operating in the area, you're unable to develop the land. Eventually, you'd have to relinquish it or give up on it. That's not fair.
I mean, it's so terrible when you have actually purchased the land, seem to have gone through the right processes, started the process of construction, only for someone to come and break it down and say that this is my land, or this belongs to me. What do you have?
Right. So, okay. So you want me to? Well, I can go into the Ghanaian Times too. So that same story is on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. Stop public land sale. President orders government institution. Okay. So it's a little very. The president the Ghanaian Times takes it from a different angle, but it's still about the issue having to do with the Lands Commission. So it reads, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has ordered government institutions to stop the sale of public lands with immediate effect. No public institution should deal in, grant, or allocate any land without the express approval of the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, acting with my consent. the days when public lands were literally dissipated without regard to the public interest are over. President Akufo-Addo said when he inaugurated the board of the Lands Commission at the Jubilee House in Accra yesterday. So it's a good call, but my concern a lot of the time is that the president tends to make some of this, give out some of these directives, except they are flouted and people flout them and they get away with it. For instance, the president actually indicated that people should stop the abuse of sirens and all of that. And I don't know what became of that because you still see people abusing sirens.
I think that the problem is law enforcement. I mean, the law enforcers are supposed to enforce the law. So if they're not enforcing the law, there's a gap there. Why are they not enforcing the law?
Essentially, they should enforce the law so that it doesn't become a directive. I mean, the law is there.
Yes.
So you don't need the president to come and tell you that enforce the law. Except the president is now having to say enforce the law, and yet nothing still happens.
So, I mean, the onus is on the law enforcers, the police, to ensure that, the law bites. Otherwise, people will continue to engage in these activities, and it doesn't serve as a deterrent to anyone. So, yes, over to you, Mr. IGP. Good morning to you. I know you're doing a great job. Perhaps you should take on this one as well.
I told the acting IGP, look, this task is huge.
It's huge, it's huge.
I mean, the work...
You can't do it alone. It's a shared responsibility, but at least, I mean, some action has to be taken so that it serves as a deterrent to others. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, radiation from microwave ovens not harmful. This has been some back and forth. They're saying that...
Who's saying this?
Ghana Atomic Energy
Commission. Radiation, okay. So I know a few friends who don't like putting their food in microwaves.
Because of the
yes, they think that, the radiation can actually cause cancer.
Yeah.
And, but there's nothing.
All right, and then there's this other story. Unbudgeted expenditure for national assignment coverage crippling GBC. That's Professor Alassane, the Director General of GBC. Now, I get into the story. So the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation paid $3 per minute to a satellite company to be able to broadcast the 2020 presidential election petition. Although he fell short of stating the full cost of the live broadcast of the petition, Professor Nim Alassane, Director General of GBC, said that such unbudgeted expenditure was one of the factors which crippled the corporation with debt. The state broadcaster, he said, had however settled all debts and was currently debt-free, adding that it planned to expend 17 million cedis this year to be able to deliver on its public broadcast mandate. So, yes, paying $3, I mean, to a satellite company, that's quite steep. But GBC should be able to find ways of getting around it. Well, they're saying that they figured a way around it, because JoyNews also covered the election petition. Right. And, GBC paid for the satellite transmission, all right. But yeah, we also set up, and we also set up a unit that we could broadcast live, but GBC was the one giving sole responsibility to take coverage from them.
Therefore?
So yeah, I'm saying we did it and we're not complaining.
No comment.
Yeah, all right. But yeah, GBC can figure it out. And they have figured it out. Okay, so 2 in court for allegedly defrauding businessman of 1.7 million cedis. A state agent swindles military officer of 170,000 Ghana cedis, and 2 nabbed over kidnapping of girl 13. So those stories are there. And then we go to African news. Schools in Nigerian state shut after mass kidnapping of students by gunmen. And a gunman who killed 4 people last month in Tanzania was a terrorist. Attackers ambushed East DRC convoy, torch vehicles. Okay. And New Jersey floods kill 22.
Wow.
Yeah, so yesterday during...
I think this is a global thing. Is it a
like,
change in the, the rainfall pattern across the world?
But we'll be getting into it. We'll be speaking with the Ghana Meteorological Agency to get some understanding as to what is happening. Yesterday, during the AM show, we posted on Facebook for people to tell us what the situation was like as far as the rains were concerned. And then we got someone commenting and says it's raining in New York. And I thought, okay, I'm talking about Ghana. But apparently the person I would want to believe was in New York.
But it's instructive to know that in New York, your highly developed country, the floods occurred. People died, actually.
Okay.
You know, I was watching CNN, and one woman was recounting her ordeal and saying that her neighbors, elderly neighbors, had nowhere to go. They were helpless because the rain, waters had almost submerged the house. And so I think that it's good to know that nobody died in Ghana, in Accra, our capital city. We've heard of deaths in the northern region and other areas, but
for you to understand what actually is happening, and I was monitoring the BBC, for the rains that happen in New York, they say it's like you're having sheets of rain pouring down. Like a whole
bucket
drum?
loads.
No, like drenching.
Wow.
So whilst here, yes, we'll have the usual. They're saying that the rain was unusual, very unusual. So they're saying they're looking at rain that hasn't, poured like that in maybe like 200 years.
Yes, climate change.
So I mean, it's significant, and it's soaked or it's submerged. They have a lot of underground and train. They have people who live underground, as in basements.
Basements, yes.
So they have a lot of basements.
A lot of them were affected, right?
Yeah. So the basements will be flooded, and once the basements are flooded, everybody who's living in the basement or people who are living in the basement, they'll be helpless.
Wow. We need to be paying more attention to climate change.
So we'll talk a bit more about that. So in New York, New Jersey, as you can see on CNBC, it's quite serious.
At least 14 people. It means that there could be more dead.
Yeah.
Wow,
and the kind of rain they're talking about.
Look at the devastation.
Yeah, wow. The kind of rain they're talking about in New York and New Jersey, I fear that if it poured here in Ghana, I mean, we'll be telling a totally different story.
Be telling the story of Noah and the ark. This one will be Kwame and the ark.
All right, let's get on with the newspaper review. Let's quickly go through it. So there's another story. Lands Commission asked to support land administration system. Children caution against enticement.
What kind of enticement?
Okay, let me get into it. The acting director for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Florence Korte, has asked children to be aware of people, especially who would entice them with gifts or pleasantries.
Okay,
so,
it's a good call, but I think that call should first come from the parents. It should come from the parents first.
Okay.
Before other adults elsewhere, advise you on that. That training should come from home.
Okay, so Malcolm Group ventures into quick service restaurant. Okay,
yes.
Interesting. Ghanaian specialist advocates integration of herbal orthodox.
They're teaming up with Pizza Hut, the popular Pizza Hut.
Okay.
And so we'll be getting, the famous pizza from Pizza Hut very soon at your various Malcolm joints.
Great. Okujo to a Blackwell, national presidential travel policy to save public purse needed. So this is a call he's been making in the last few days. MPP NDC youth advised against inflammable language and show commitment to maintain power. So let's get to the back page of the sports. Black Stars aim for positive starts as they face Ethiopian World Cup qualifier. And yes, that will be it for me from the Ghanaian Times.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Daily Guide now. The Daily Guide, you should get a copy of the Daily Guide today because the front page has an interesting caption. It says, Agenda 111 critics are wizards and witches. And this is according to the Presby moderator. I've actually heard him say so. Okay. I mean, we have that video. We'll be putting it up on my Joy Online very soon. But yes, that is Right Reverend Professor J.O.Y. Mante, Presby moderator, saying people who criticize the Agenda 111 project by government are witches and wizards. Let's get into it.
How would you say that?
Let me tell you the details. Infante, or we say anyen, inti. When I will criticize the government, that's according to the Presby moderator. So the story. Abeifo is tree, right? Yeah, in Fanti we say Anyen, but in tree, I guess it's Abeifo.
Okay.
So let's get into it. It says, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend Professor Joseph Obri Yeboah Mante, has hit out at critics of the government's Agenda 111 project meant for the construction of hospitals across the country, describing them as witches and wizards. Professor Mante said he could not imagine how such a laudable project to be undertaken by, quote, a poor nation like Ghana would attract opposition, and drew the conclusion that only witches and wizards will be against Agenda 111. So the Prezi moderator was speaking at the commissioning of the Asin Praso Presbyterian Hospital in the Central Region. And it goes on to say that recently I heard the Minister of Health hint of something, and later the President of the Republic announced publicly that the government intends to construct 111 health facilities across the country. And he says, Nana Chairman, what beats my imagination in this country is that we find ourselves in abject poverty, and someone says he wants to construct 111 health projects, and some people are angry. Is it not witchcraft? Is it not witchcraft? Some of the things do not make sense to me. We allow politics to blind us to the point that as people in abject poverty without good hospitals, compared to what we have abroad, where a hospital is a hospital and a clinic is indeed a clinic, and someone says he wants to construct 111 hospitals and you are angry out there, it means you are indeed a witch or a wizard incarnate. If you're a pastor looking for witchcraft to exorcise, please look for this kind of witchcraft. So that's from Professor J.O. Waibante, who is speaking to those who are criticizing government's Agenda 111 project.
You have to make that video available for us. We'll play
Definitely.
it here on the
Like I
show.
said, it is going to be put up on myjoyonline.com very soon, and you can watch it for yourself. So that's on the front page of the Daily Guide. Also on the front page of the Daily Guide, NAM1 trial adjourned to October 11. It seems every time this issue about NAM1 comes up, it's always an adjournment. I'm just wondering how how would you, is it the victims or the depositors?
People who have
the men's gold
money.
customers.
Yeah.
The men's gold customers are feeling, a lot of them say that they know people who actually have committed suicide as a result of, not being able to wait to get their monies. They are frustrated. So the story reads that an Accra Circuit Court has once again adjourned the trial of embattled chief executive of defunct Men's Gold Ghana Limited, Nana Appiah Mensah, aka NAM1, to October 2021, October 11, 2021. This followed the inability of the prosecution to file documents as ordered by the court. So this problem is coming from the prosecution.
Okay.
The prosecution was unable, and the prosecution is government, isn't it? Government that's prosecuting him.
It's the state.
It's the state that's prosecuting him. They were unable to file documents as ordered by the court to enable the trial to proceed. And so the prosecution at the last sitting, July 6th, that's July 6th, had pleaded with the court to give them another chance to file their processes after the court was informed that NAM1 was coughing and had to see a doctor. So it's always the prosecution giving an excuse, not even the defense. The prosecution giving an excuse. I mean, I think that is totally unacceptable. What happens to the customers now? I can imagine how they're feeling.
And it tends to feed into all sorts of speculations that probably the state is not committed in prosecuting or bringing justice to the customers.
Yeah. Also in the Daily Guide, Suhum driver, MP driver caged over bloody clash. You know that story of the clash in Suhum. The alleged driver of the Suhum MP who was accused of butchering an MPP communicator in Suhum last weekend. He's been remanded by a magistrate court in Koforidua. Also, the story about the president speaking about sanity in land administration is also there. 10 to page 8, there's some entertainment news, and Kanye West reportedly cheated on Kim Kardashian. That's no news there. No news because, they do it all the time. Efia Kiddy and others to feature on What's Good Africa. I guess that is a weekly unscripted lifestyle series exploring all aspects of hip-hop culture in Africa. Also, you know this song, Ichogo, Ichogo, Ichogo. Please show me. I want to show the viewers how they do the dance. Mr. Director,
okay,
I want
so
the viewers to see how the dance.
To do the
exactly.
Ichoke dance. Yeah.
Because this love, they choke. No be joko. Ijoko. So the lady who sang that song, it's a popular song now. If you turn to the page 8 of Daily Guide, it says D Black wow Sefa with brand new car. So Sefa is the lady who sang this song. She's been gifted a brand new car by her label boss, D Black.
Okay.
Congratulations to you.
All right, so we have just a few minutes. So let's quickly do the Daily Dispatch. Diabetes and high blood pressure are major causes of chronic kidney diseases. That's a specialist. And 301 teenagers were impregnated every day in Ghana in 2020. That's according to the Ghana Health Service. And then as he campaigns for NPP's 2024 flag bearership, Joe Garte thanks Akufo-Addo for not reappointing him as a minister. And then Razak Kojo Opoku on benefits of Akufo-Addo's trips to Germany and UK. But those stories are on the back page of the Daily Dispatch. And then quickly, the Finder, rice 76.5% increase, maize 10.5% decline. The projected production figures for 2021. That's the minister saying that. All right. And maybe finally, the statesman president advocates institutional reforms for efficient land administration.
All right, I have the BNFT with me, the big story here. Banks working to close policy lending rates gaps. That's according to the ADB boss. Also, Zoom Lion commended for role in managing medical waste at vaccination centers. Amend laws to compel informal sector to pay tax. That's according to a tax expert. And on the back page, Gabi Otredako appointed new chair of CWEIC's Ghana Hub. And what's CWEIC? So that is the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council. So that's your news. That's on the back page of the Business and Financial Times.
All right, so let's get to my Joy Online and get to see some of the stories making headlines there. So yes, we have Ghana is in crisis. We have so much resources, yet we're so poor. That's Kwabena Dufour speaking there. And then it is not illegal to set up Development Bank of Ghana without Act of Parliament. That's the Deputy Finance Minister. I was happy when Rollins dismissed me from GBC, that's Professor Kakari, and CSIR Insti develops Kwafo Marketplace app to improve food security. Don't forget feeder roads washed away by floods. That's the Fiema Busie Issa MP appealing to government. Parts of Accra, Kumasi flooded after Thursday downpour. The elephant will be eating a slice at a time. That's the CPP. The CPP will win the election 2024. That's the national chairperson. And Akufo-Addo bans public institutions from allocating public lands. And as I'm saying, I am hoping that the directive is followed through. Or if there's any more land actually for them to sell, if they haven't sold everything. National Security NCC dialogue with OT Region Youth on Violent Extremism. All right, so that'll be it for the news review. Thank you very much, Arabakum Singh, for coming through.
Always a pleasure.
Again, and you have a wonderful
Thank you.
Friday.
You all have a wonderful week.
So we're asking our viewers how they're going to celebrate the weekend, and so I'm asking you, how's the weekend going to be like for you?
I like adventure, so I am going hiking.
Hiking?
That means I'm climbing a mountain.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are you climbing the mountain as in hiking, or you're just going to drive onto the mountain?
Climbing with my limbs.
Really?
Yes, not driving, climbing.
That's quite a bit of adventure. Yes. All right.
I used to be very sporty when I was in school, and I think that I'm slacking now, so I need to get back
to it.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So you tell us what you're going to be doing this weekend. What's the weekend looking like for you? Share your thoughts with us on Facebook. But there's more coming up on the show. But right now, we're taking a break to bring you sports. Rico and Pofo just entered the studio, so stay tuned in for the sports.
Bye.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM Sports with me, Oriku Wampofo. Was a big day for the Black Stars as they begin their quest to qualify for the 2022 FIFA World Cup, which would be hosted in Qatar, and will be building up to that game against Ethiopia tonight, against at the Cape Coast Stadium against Ethiopia. And before the game, former Black Stars defender Tony Bafor, he's urged the Black Stars to eschew complacency in their opening World Cup qualifier against Ethiopia at the Cape Coast Stadium today. The four-time African champions are targeting a fourth appearance in the World Cup after berths in the 2006, 2010 and then 2014 tournament. Here's a Joy Sports report.
Only by mouth. You have to take it step by step, because now everybody plays football. It's preparation, it's organization, and it's attention to details and a bit of luck. Now they have the blessing from everyone. The legends like Reverend Osei Kofi were there, Awulekwe, Coach Ibrahim Sunday, then Dan Owusu, Willie Klutse, Awulekwe, Abdi Pele, Sami Kufor, and many others. They were present.
Well, still on the Black Stars and ahead of the Ghana-Ethiopia World Cup qualifier, President of the Ghana Football Association, Keto Kreku, has urged former players of the Black Stars to give the current team their full support. He made a plea during an interaction with the national heroes here in Accra.
If we have in any way offended any of you along the line of duty, we are sorry. If by any chance we have offended any of you, Mr. Mo, I am sure that even when I walk through that door, some of you will say, Kurt, all your presence in intelligence. I am sorry. All of you would have wished that when it comes to the biggest assembly of football, the World Cup, you'll be part. Some of you have been part as footballers. Some of you still want to be part, even though you've retired. This is possible. All of you have varied experiences on how battles are won. But what you all agree to is that it doesn't take one person's effort to qualify the Black Stars to the World Cup. It doesn't. If you take his effort, my effort, your effort, our collective effort to make sure that our Black Stars will be there. And that's why, I need you. That's why my minister needs you. That's why our president of the Republic needs you. And that's why you also need me. We need each other to ensure that our Black Stars will make it. Yes. Because clearly, if we are able to make it to the World Cup, it will be a game changer.
Ghana would be facing Ethiopia tonight at 7 p.m. and the match takes place at the Cape Coast Stadium. We'll be bringing you live commentary of that game on Joy FM as well. Build-up starts at 6:50 and then the game itself at 7 p.m. So do make a date on Joy 99.7 FM. That's if you would not be able to view the game. But let's move to other stories where new signing Gladson Awako of Heart of Oak, he says that he expects fans to at least lower the expectations for the CAF Champions League. Now the Phobians lock on to a Guinean side, Club Industrial de Kamsa, in the preliminary round of the Elite African Championship later this month. It will mark the club's return to the continental action for the first time in 10 years. Awako tells Joy Sports their target is to make it to the money zone of the competition, but also urges fans to be modest in their expectations.
It's good to be part of this competition, to take part in this African Champions League. Yes, the supporters, and I know the club itself want to get to the top there in this competition, which we all know that it's not that easy. It's been a very long time that has participated in such tournaments. So I'll plead with the supporters, they should calm down, they should support us, they shouldn't expect too much. And we'll also do our best, we'll do what we can to to get to the money zone, which is not going to be easy. But I know with the team, with the management, with the support from the board chairman, I know we'll do our best to get to the money zone. So they shouldn't expect too much that, okay, we should go and go and win the trophy. But they should limit the expectation, which will also take off some pressure of the team.
Let's do some other stories where a Japanese philanthropist who wants to remain anonymous has donated $5,000 to Ghana's first ever powerlifter to make a Paralympic record for this country, Ghana. Emmanuel Nitete Oku, who was Ghana's flag bearer, comes after he watched the powerlifting competition, especially Ghana's only competitor at the 72 kg class. We have more for you in the following report by Elon Benar.
The philanthropist said he was impressed with the composure of the athlete in addition to his performance. He later revealed that after reading in the Japanese daily newspaper and reviews on television about the feat chalked by Oku, he was moved to help the young athlete who made his first Paralympic appearance. The philanthropist, who wants to remain anonymous, revealed that he lived in Ghana for more than 2 years in the 60s and has since been drawn to Ghana. The MPC president Samson Dean thanked him on behalf of the athlete and assured him of greater successes. It is on record that Nkegbi Bocho has made the most Paralympic appearances for Ghana, contesting in the T54 sprint event at 3 consecutive editions of the Games between 2004 and 2012. Anita Fojo has achieved the highest ranking of an athlete from Ghana, placing 7th in both T53 100 meters and T53 200 meters at the 2012 Games in London. Oku, who was Ghana's flag bearer for the opening ceremony of the 2020 Tokyo Paralympic Games, registered his first ever lift at the Paralympic Games. His first lift of 160 kg earned Ghana a 7th place finish. The philanthropist during the presentation also disclosed his interest to build an indoor sports center for Ghana. The NPC president, upon arrival in Ghana, will present the amounts to the Minister of Youth and Sports and request the government to assist the powerlifter get a new prosthetic leg from Otobo.
Well, let's now move to the Boss Game Show, which happens every Saturday on Joy Prime at 8 p.m. And there's going to be an all-female debut on the show this Saturday. And so it's something to really look forward to, as 3 sports ladies would be showcasing their football knowledge to win part of 250,000 cash prize. Remember, it is at 8 p.m. on the Joy Prime channel. It's also on DSTV channel 281 and GoTV channel 180. You can also participate by dialing *18 *882# *718 *882# on MTN, Vodafone or Airtel Tigo. On Gmoney, you can dial *422# and then select 4 and 6 and then follow the prompt after. Buy entries are 2 Ghana cedis to qualify to participate. The higher your entries, the better your chances. You can also win electronic goods such as TV sets, home theaters, etc. when you buy entries, as well as come to the show to contest the boss to be part of the 250,000 Ghana cedis.
Hello, I'm Dori Nando. You can catch up with all the fun on the Cosmopolitan Mix and on all our shows via podcast. Just go to My Joy Online podcast and search for your favorite show and relive those moments all over again. Only on Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Let's talk some more about yesterday's rain across the country. We want to assess the impact and try to understand what is happening. It turns out that the rains didn't pour just in Ghana. Some other countries are also experiencing some heavy rain as well. And actually, there's been some flooding in New York. So we want to understand what is happening. Does it have anything to do with climate change? I know that in New York, for instance, they had to do with the after effects of Hurricane Ida, but there could be more to it. So we'll be speaking with the Ghana Meteo about all of that and also touch base with our correspondent across the country. And maybe we should start with Ghana Meteo and Joshua Asamoah is a forecaster with GMET, and he joins us via Zoom. Thank you very much, Mr. Asamoah, for making time to speak with us once again. Let's start with the local situation. Are you able to tell now how much rain we actually experienced across the country yesterday?
Good morning, Israel. Yes, I can now tell you the amount of rainfall we had. The highest so far was recorded over Kweu-Tafo in the eastern region. They had 129 millimeters of rainfall during the event. And then we had about 75 millimeters also over areas in the eastern. So parts of the eastern region had very heavy rainfall from that event. We also had about 65 millimeters over Nyankpala in the northern region. For most parts of the northern sector, the rains were around 40 millimeters to 65, 70 millimeters. For us along the coast, Accra had around 40 millimeters. Accra Girls had 45 millimeters. We had 45 millimeters over Odona. And then around Memphis we had about 45 millimeters. So for Greater Accra, it was around 40 to 45 millimeters. Adan had about 56.5 millimeters from yesterday's event. And then in the Ashanti and Bono Ahafo regions, I don't have all the information from there as at now, because they were still experiencing rains even later in the afternoon into the evening. But when I checked the rainfall for the Ashanti and Western regions, Sefi Bekwai, Sefi Yosu areas were all recording over 50 millimeters of rainfall as the rain was still occurring. So it was quite heavy for most parts of the country.
Okay, so let's talk about the Kweu area, which had the most rain, as you're indicating. Now, it turns out that that area is mountainous, and so we don't expect much havoc with that kind of downpour.
Yes, their soil is better, and then I think conditions on the ground are also better than what we have in Accra and other parts where other flood-prone areas. So we don't hear of flooding over those areas, but it rains there quite often.
All right. So the rest of the country, I'm not sure which parts. Well, we're not talking about very serious floods. What I keep hearing is more of roads that are inundated, and so it causes compounds the traffic situation. But it's more that has more to do with the engineering of the roads, I should say, right?
Basically, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But the intensity was not so much to wash roads and all that, but I think probably maybe engineering issues.
Okay, but we also realized that for Accra, at least I can speak for Accra, it kept raining for quite a while. So it rained heavily at dawn, and then it stopped, but then we're still getting some drizzles and showers throughout the day. What sort of, what are you reading from your end?
Well, yesterday's event was a very classical case. You hardly see that for most, in fact, within the rainy season, you might really even see it once in the rainy season. Most of the things that we look out for to predict rains were all just there. So there was no way it wasn't going to rain yesterday for most parts of the country.
Okay.
It was just a classical. I don't know. A classical holiday or whatever. It was easy to forecast for the events that happened yesterday. So for most parts of the day, we're seeing very conducive stuff that will lead to rainfall. But because it had already rained at dawn for Greater Accra in the morning, the atmosphere was a bit damp. And so the energy to cause heavy rainfall or more intense rainfall was not there. That's why we're experiencing the slight and then drizzle for most parts of the day. But if we still had some sunshine after the heavy rainfall, it would have still poured later in the day.
All right, so how do you explain what is happening? Would you say it's the regular, usual rainfall that we're getting with the rainy season, or there must be more to it?
Well, personally, I think it's still the regular rainfall season, because the active systems are gradually moving from the northern parts into the southern parts. And so that is bringing us our minor rainy season. So it's not abnormal to have rainfall of the magnitude that we had for most parts of the country. They're not still in the rainfall season, so it's still raining there. Maybe they'll probably have some break towards the weekend. But for southern Ghana, we are now gradually entering into our minor rainy season, and so we'll start getting some of these rainfall conditions more often.
What's the forecast looking like for today?
Basically, it's just going to be cloudy for coastal and middle portions of the country. We'll experience some pockets of slight rains, moderate rains over the inland parts of the coastal sector. That's for areas closer to the eastern and the Ashanti regions. They will experience some moderate rains, but for us close to the coast, it will just be some slight rains. In the afternoon, some breaks of sunshine will be experienced for most parts of the country. And then later in the afternoon, we're expecting the Ashanti regions, the western parts of the western north regions to get some rainfall. But northern Ghana is not expected to have so much activities today. It will just be some isolated cases of rain and thunder during the next 24 hours.
All right, so you wouldn't say, you say that what we're experiencing here in Ghana is quite typical of the minor rainy season. But around the world, we actually noticed that there were some floods. So the rain over there in those other countries were a lot heavier. And in New York in particular, I heard someone who was describing it was saying that we had so much rain pour within a few minutes. And that's what the kind of rain that caused the flooding. What do you know about the rains in New York and other parts of the world, and what as compared to what is happening in Ghana? So in Ghana, you're talking about Accra, 40 millimeters of rain, but in New York, what's the kind of rainfall that caused the floods they're experiencing right now?
Okay, so sorry. So our rains compared to the ones they are experiencing in New York ours is just some small one. You can't compare it to theirs because theirs is as a result of a hurricane that affected most areas in the America. So they are in their hurricane season. So for 2021, they've had nine tropical systems. Sorry, 9 tropical systems now, and the latest one is the Hurricane Ida. 4 of them successfully became hurricanes. The others were just tropical storms and depressions. They were not so much intense, but this is the most intense one in 2021. It produced about 80 millimeters of rainfall in just an hour. To have 80 millimeters in an hour is quite heavy. So within some few hours, I think about 1 hour and some few minutes, they had about 150 millimeters of rainfall. So that tells you that it was very intense over those areas. But like I said, they are in their hurricane season, and so they will be seeing some of these hurricane activities quite often around this time. It's not abnormal to have hurricanes around this time, but climate change is playing a factor in enhancing these activities because we are getting warmer conditions. And once the atmosphere or the world globe keeps warming, some ice will be melting, and this will cause an increase in the sea level. The sea surface temperature is also rising. And once the ocean becomes warmer, then it gives the strength to storms for them to develop further and then cause some of these hurricanes that we see. Most of the time, the tropical storms that we have here, because they are on land, the energy is not so much. But when they leave the land and then enter into the Atlantic Ocean, then they get energized over the ocean, develop further, and then gain so much strength to form the hurricanes and then the tropical cyclones that they see over the America and then Canada areas. So it's in their hurricane season, but the intensity is higher because of climate change and its
all right.
effects.
So you attribute some, climate change to what is happening in New York, but you're saying that in Accra and in Ghana, you wouldn't associate what is happening with that. How come?
Okay, so I was saying that areas in the New York areas are they still experience hurricanes around this time.
Yes.
But climate change has caused it to the effect.
It's more intense now.
Yes, it's more intense over those areas because ocean is warming up, and then the sea surface temperature, once it gets higher, then it enhances the storms to develop further to become hurricanes.
Does it mean that climate change is not impacting us here in Ghana and Africa?
It is, but the effect on us is minimal compared to them. The reason why I'm saying this is that for hurricanes to form, it will have to be towards the western parts of a wider ocean. For Ghana, where we are located, to our east, it's just land. You're seeing Togo, Benin, Nigeria, those areas. So for hurricane to affect us, if it forms over the Indian Ocean, it has to travel all the way from East Africa to West Africa. By the time it gets here, the energy would have been depleted. So we are a bit okay compared to them because where they are located, the ocean is just wide to their east. So the storm will form and then gets energized over the ocean. Once it leaves the ocean, it's just hitting them. So the effects on them will be higher compared to what ours will be. But it does not take away the fact that we are also going to have some effects of climate change in our region.
How is climate change impacting us in our region?
We're seeing droughts in periods where we're not supposed to have seen droughts. In June, July, we're supposed to be having so much rainfall, but some farmers were crying because the rains were not coming. Their products, the crops that they planted were all affected because of these things. They are all effects that climate change is bringing on us. We're also seeing some shifts in rainfall patterns. Just like I was telling you some few days ago, in January and February this year, we're still experiencing rainfall when we're supposed to be in the dry season. And around that time, there were very heavy rainfall amounts. Takrady recorded around 119 millimeters on the 25th of February. That is a bit unusual. So climate change is impacting us around this time. But just that the magnitude of the effect on us is not as high as those in other parts of the continent, of the world.
So farmers in Ghana would typically or depend a lot on the forecast that you give them. Would you say that would have to probably readjust the forecast so that we don't stick with the traditional seasons that we have?
Yes, that is strongly advised. The Ghana Meteorological Agency comes up with a seasonal forecast every year. So we issue a forecast for the major rainy season and then the minor rainy season for southern Ghana, when the onset will be, how many dry spells are to be expected, whether it will be a longer dry spell, shorter dry spell, rainfall amounts that we expect within each season. So if you plan your season around this forecast, it will help. Also issue one for the north, because theirs is just one rainfall season. We issue one for the northern parts for their rainfall season. So you have a fair idea of what to expect during the rainfall season and whether or not you have to, and the type of crop that you have to go in for each season. Because if you're going to have a shorter rainfall season, then you don't want to plant crops that will take longer time to mature or bear fruit and stuff like that. So you plan your season well based on the information that you get. So you should not just stick to April, May, June, September, October, November. Just get the updates from the office as and when they are released, and then plan your season around those.
I would want to believe that for 2021, you issued a forecast, seasonal forecast, as you've indicated. You get the sense that the farmers, these forecasts get to the farmers who are actually on the ground. I can imagine that those who have huge farms and are doing engaging in commercial farming will take your forecast seriously and plan accordingly. And in fact, when it comes to them, they would also probably have irrigation systems as well. But do the farmers who are your regular farmers who are down there, are they taking these forecasts seriously?
Well, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
We're trying to engage them.
But how do you disseminate your forecasts so that you know that it's getting to them, or you just put it out?
There was a media briefing around February to communicate the information in the seasonal forecast to the general public. it was also held on Zoom. So anyone who wanted to join could join. We shared the links on our platforms, WhatsApp platforms, and then on our Twitter page as well. So those who had access to the links joined and then had the forecast for the season. But some media personnel were also around to carry the information on. So I'm sure it got to some people, but still we have a whole long way to go to reach everybody. So I'm not sure everybody had the information, but at least with the best to get to.
So the seasonal forecast that you share, does it take into consideration the impact of climate change and the shifts, or you put out the forecast and the climate change impact tends to, throw it out of the window?
So the forecast considers climate change and all that. We look out for some scales before we come up with a forecast. So all those things, climate change, conditions for rain to fall, and all those things will be considered before the forecast will be issued. So when the forecast is issued, we've already considered all of these things. But there's still a possibility that within the season we'll have some changes because the atmosphere is very dynamic.
Yeah.
And within a day, we can have so many changes. And so given a forecast for the whole season, the probability will be lower than giving a forecast for the next 24 hours.
All right.
Yeah, so there's constant updates on the seasonal forecast to reflect the current conditions in the atmosphere.
For the kind of work that Ghana Meteo is doing, we need to, pay a lot more serious attention to the forecast that you give us, especially when it comes to disseminating it to the farmers. And so, yes, we're pledging to take it a lot more seriously when you have the seasonal forecast for 2022 so that we can disseminate it and make sure that it gets to the people who need them the most. These are the regular farmers who don't have access to irrigation and irrigation facilities. But I want you to hold on for us. We're going to go across the country and try and get to understand what is happening in the regions. But I'll come back to you, Mr. Asama, later on for you to give us the forecast going into the weekend. I'll start with Ilyasu Tanko, who is in the Northeast region. Ilyasu, thank you for making time to join us. What's been the weather situation like in your neck of the woods?
Well, it's been raining throughout yesterday, last night, I must say, and this morning there have been some few showers in parts of the region, and the weather is very cloudy. We might be getting some rains going forward, but the distraction continues. Yesterday, after the rains, there was some distractions in one of the community called Katabanawa. There was a rainstorm and some houses were ripped off. And some communities, as we understand, continue to cut off. And the Mamprugu Mwaduri area, as I mentioned the other time I joined you, 16 communities so far has been cut off. Several farmlands are currently in water, and people are really, really bearing the brunt of the torrential rains that have been coming since the middle of last month. So this morning too, we might get some rains. Already some parts of the region have experienced some few showers, and the weather is somehow cloudy again this morning.
The last time we spoke with you, NADMO indicated that they were trying to get some support some help for the people by first registering the people. Do we have any update on that?
Well, they are still in that process. It's still very difficult getting to some of the communities that have been cut off. Yesterday, there was an inauguration of the Regional Disaster Management Committee. The district chief executive for the Mamprugu Mwaduri was there. He gave us the details of what has been happening in that particular district. He confirmed that indeed 16 communities have been cut off. He also said that some bridges have also been destroyed and some roads have also been destroyed as well. As I speak to you now, what NADMO is focusing right now is to try and get some of these people affected to move to higher grounds. And they are also sensitizing their education campaigns in these areas. But in terms of relief items, they mentioned that they are well ready to respond. But the problem really is that they are not able to assess these communities to know exactly what is going on and what sort of relief they will be sending to these people. So that is the problem currently. But they say that they are well prepared, they are ready to respond to any serious disaster that may occur in the course of the week or the days.
All right, we seem to be having some challenges with Ilyasu Tanko, but thank you very much. You've given us enough for the morning. Let's move to Martina Bugri, who's in the northern region. Martina, what's the situation in your region?
I must say that this morning the sun is yet to come out. It was refreshing hearing the weatherman say that we might not have rains within the weekend. But the place doesn't look too good. It looks a bit hazy. The sun is yet to come out. 2 nights ago, we had some heavy downpour, and it ran through yesterday in the morning till about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. It stopped and then came back again. We had some showers. Intermittently, it went on till the end of the day. And so it's refreshing to hear that we might not get some rains this morning.
Do we have people who have been impacted by the floods and are displaced as a result?
Normally, because people have families, when these things happen, they relocate to their families and then come in once in a while to inspect what they have behind, making sure that they are not stolen. And when the floods recede and the place is dry, they are able to come back and then settle. And so you would have people who are displaced, but they are with families and currently seeking shelter elsewhere.
So in the case of the northern region, you have a peculiar issue because it turns out that apart from the rains, you should be bracing for the impact of spillage from the Bagre Dam. How's the region preparing for that?
We are told that they are doing sensitization in communities. Yesterday, the Director General of NADMO was in the region and he went to meet some chiefs who he says they are supporting their efforts to sensitize the people to relocate to higher ground. And so that is what is being done right now. But they are also speaking to people who live along waterways in the metropolis to try and do some dredging in their areas, and those who are mostly very affected to relocate to homes that they think will be safer whilst they wait for the heavy part of the rainy season to go and then they can relocate back. So basically, these are some of the things that they are doing currently in the region. We are told that NADMO is taking data of those who were displaced on Monday. And so that's going on now. They are hoping that by the end of the day, they'll have some data for us. Then we know how many people were affected, what they are going to do moving on, because they always tell us that when disaster happens, what they are looking for is how to get the people safe and then relief can come in. So we are waiting to see what they have for these people going in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much, Martina Bugri. I'd want us to go back to Ilyasu Tanko, who is in the Northeast region. Ilyasu, you're also likely to be impacted by the spillage of the Bagre Dam. Right, we've lost Ilyasu Tanko right now, but let's stay on and try and speak to some more of our correspondents across the country as to the impact of the rain, yesterday's rain. It's been raining for a number of days. Let's go to Joshua, and I want Joshua for you to give us some specifics as far as the forecast is concerned for the northern region or the upper regions.
All right, so it's still cloudy over the upper regions because of the rainstorm that tracked there. It left some cloudiness behind. So that's the clouds that they are seeing now. It will not produce much rainfall, it will just be some slight intensity, nothing to worry about so much. But as the day progresses, we'll see some breaks of sunshine, like I said earlier. Into the weekend, we're expecting that Saturday will be similar. Clouds in the morning with some slight rains over a few areas. And then we'll have breaks of sunshine coming in the afternoon. In the evening, we'll go back into the cloudiness, but we're not expecting so much rainfall on Saturday. Later, Sunday, going into Monday, that is when we expect another rainfall to fall over areas in the northern and upper west regions. But the intensity will not be as they had for the past 2 days.
All right, so we're still trying to get to the rest of our correspondents across the region to get to understand what the situation is like. We have Isaac Nonya, who's from the Savannah region. Hello, Isaac. What can you tell us about your region?
Yes, the rain here has been a bit stable in the sense that most of the areas that we experienced last week have not experienced it again, apart from Maunore, which is connected to the White Volta. Yesterday, there was torrential rain here, and somewhere settlement going to Congo. That place, the situation is the same. I will speak now, the Damago Township, and then the Kashmir areas within the community. There has not been any rain for the past 2 days. So I would say currently things have been better, unless Maunore side going to the North Gonja, which is also experiencing the spillage of the Baguri Dam.
And your area, the region is likely to be impacted by the spillage of the Baguri Dam. What's being done about that? What sort of sensitization is taking place?
Sure. The region is likely to be experienced by the impact comparing what happened last year. So far, the number of officials moved towards the Maunore to speak to commuters to be very careful and possibly to stay away from the river bank. And also residents who are close to the White Volta around Yape, along the where is that, North Gonja, Daboya. These are people who suffered a lot of the impact last year. But 1 million of them are fisher folks and pizza farmers. They are not ready. Their buildings are still close to the White Volta and Yape. Not a single human being has moved out. If you go to Daboya, which is North Gonja, the capital, they are saying that these are places that were given to them, or houses that were built by their great-grandparents, some their fathers. And relocating is not easy to go and buy a land or to go and take somebody's farmland and say you are farming, and tomorrow next, he or she comes or the children come to say, look, move, this is not your place. What they need now, especially in North Gonja, Salaga, they want permanent relocation. And this is something that the assembly said they cannot do. I spoke with the DC of the area, Adam Eliasu. He said that, look, we can only give you temporary location, like we have done for the nomads who are mostly herdsmen. But if you are talking about permanent relocation, that has to be the responsibility of central government, which is not something they can do right now. So NADBO is based on what they did last year, because of the mindset by the people that, look, if not permanent relocation, we don't move. NADBO has not embarked on any serious sensitization again, because the sensitization they will give to them is for them to relocate to higher grounds. And this is the case the people have made up their mind that, look, we are not moving if not permanent relocation. So the danger now, as of yesterday, more waters have come into the township. Farmlands are beginning to be submerged. And the houses, while the farmlands are submerged, the next is that the water is moving into the homes of these people. One funny thing we experienced last year was that when some houses were submerged, we have this particular landlord who put a bench in the water and laid on top of it and asked the wife and kids to be cooking and doing whatever they were doing. So the former regional minister, Mr. Brahma Salifu, who went there with NADBO officials and the media, could not understand why houses were submerged and people were still inside the water, saying they were living there. And he asked them to move. They wouldn't move. Not whether they wouldn't move. So they stayed throughout the water, ran away, leaving them. So this is the mentality of the people over there. And that's why Nadmo is not moving there again, saying that they're going to do sensitization or to move them out. Moving them out forcefully is something that they will resist.
Isaac, the situation is quite interesting in the Savannah region. You're talking about people refusing to move to the extent that they actually see the flood waters and they put benches out there and they decide to stay put. What are the traditional authorities doing about that? If the DC and the MC is unable to do anything about it, what about the traditional authorities?
I want to give you the traditional authority equally understand the plight of the people.
As in, they agree with the people.
They have not spoken. That's the one thing that people are talking about. If they should speak, I think there will be a way out because the people respect and listen to them more. So people are expecting that this time, traditional authority, the overlord of the area, should speak and order these people to leave the place. If they add their voices, I can tell you they will move. Without that, they will continue to resist and resist. An interesting spectacle that happened last year was that the former regional minister made a statement to the effect that Nadmo will come and sack them or force them out from that place in order to avoid loss of lives. That did not go down well from the higher hierarchy from the government. I think the government took him on after the media reported that Nadmo will be forcing the people out from where they were living. And that was it. Situation remains so till the what ran out, leaving them.
Well, that's quite unfortunate. Thank you very much, Isaac Nonya, for bringing us that update from the Savannah region. Let's go to Peter Senu, who's in the OT region. Peter, what are you able to tell us about the OT region as far as the rains are concerned?
Well, it's been a rainy weather. It's still a rainy weather here in the OT region. But yesterday, it was a rainy weather throughout most part of the region. In fact, I set out yesterday to monitor the second dose of the vaccination. But as of the scheduled time for 8 a.m. yesterday, most of the centers could not open. In fact, they were open, but most people who would have come to take their second or first jabs were not there as of the time we visited those centers. And so, relatively, it's of a less impact on the rain as we have seen in other places, flooding and destruction of homes. Here in the OT region, relatively, it's a calm area, except for those who may be living very close to the lakes for which we have not received any adverse reports as we speak.
All right, thank you very much, Peter, and we hope that it stays that way so that we don't have any adverse reports. Let's move to Ohiming Teria, who's in the Ashanti region. Hello, Ohiming. So you have been monitoring the situation the whole of today. You've been bringing us updates. Yesterday in the morning when we spoke, it was raining, and we were talking about the fact that it's likely to impact on the traffic situation because roads were submerged. It turns out that it wasn't just the traffic situation that was impacted. We also had the COVID-19 vaccine rollout also being affected. What's the situation like this morning?
Yes, thank you, Israel. Indeed, the situation did affect many lives in the Ashanti region, especially the traveling public, the motorists and commuters who were forced to park their vehicles for several hours in areas where they experienced floods. For instance, on the main Kumasi-Accra road, the Ejoso-Kwamo section of the road was blocked, forcing motorists to resort to a single lane passage, which means that those who were traveling from Kumasi direction to Accra had to share that double lane with their counterparts traveling from Accra to Kumasi. And in the Kumasi South district, for instance, Kumasi South Junction, that particular spot we are told is noted for flooding. Anytime it rains, the area gets flooded. But yesterday was unprecedented. and even some mechanic shops, a chain of mechanic shops along the roadside were all affected. They were, inundated with flood waters, and mechanics who reported for work had to wait for several hours for the rainwaters to subside before they managed to return to their shops. Vehicles that were brought in by their customers were all filled, by water. So it took them several hours cleaning these vehicles before they could return to work. And the information that I got from them is that the situation is making many of them to lose their customers, because when customers bring their vehicles and now they are filled with filth and haven't had to clean them, they go and then they don't return. In the particular instance at a Buakwa housing area, I later got information that even the vehicle was swept away by the rain waters. And then on the Kumasi Barakesi Road, a particular spot, specifically at a spot that is called Tigo Junction, that area also got flooded from when the Owabe Dam, overflowed its banks, and people living along these areas all having been affected. And those of the traveling public were also affected because the vehicles couldn't pass through the heavy currents of the rainwater. They have to park their vehicles for several hours before they could continue the journey. So it actually impacted on human life to the extent that the Regional Health Directorate announced that because of the late start of the vaccination exercise, then they had to postpone, give more days to the exercise so that it allows residents in the Kumasi and Ashanti region who probably were affected by the rain will also have the opportunity to be vaccinated.
All right, and I can imagine that when it rains like that, apart from the traffic that's compounded, if the roads get submerged, subsequently what we tend to have it happening is the roads get destroyed. We're getting a lot more potholes, and that will also then impact on the traffic situation. So have you been around town this morning, and what's it looking like?
Yes, a particular situation in mind is the South Junction area, where after the rains, some parts of the asphalt overlay taken away and washed away by the floods. So what it means is that it has created some sort of gully on the road. So motorists are compelled to either slow down, or when you get to that spot, then you consider how to avoid, either running into the pothole or probably drive around it. So that has been the situation, and it makes traveling and driving on this particular stretch very, uncomfortable. Even if you compare the depth, if you look at the depth of this pothole, as the vehicles enter and then leave, then you can have this feeling how deep the pothole is. So motorists have been complaining that in as much as possible, authorities should come to their aid and fix these situations. If not, and it allowed to continue and fester, then it means it will create unnecessary vehicular traffic on this stretch. And this morning, I can assure you that if you are using the Kumasi Accra route, especially from the Tech police station area to Anroga Junction, where yesterday Anroga Junction, for instance, experienced a bit of the floods. It wasn't all that heavy. Now we are seeing very heavy vehicular traffic on this stretch. So the indication is that because of the impact of the floods, it has created some sort of potholes on the road, eating away some of the asphalt overlays, and that is how it has contributed to the very heavy vehicular traffic on the road. So motorists are feeling uncomfortable. It's unusual. Some say it's unprecedented, but that is what the region has been left with.
All right. Thank you very much, Ohiming Tia, for bringing us that comprehensive update on the situation in the Ashanti region. But we also know that the COVID vaccination, as you indicated, has been extended by some, a few more days. Let us know exactly how long it will continue and if it has resumed this morning.
Sure. The Deputy Regional Health Director in charge of public health, Dr. Roxanne, did indicate that if you look at what happened yesterday, it was an act of God, and you are likely not to have control over act of God. So the indication is that they are extending the exercise beyond this weekend. So areas that still have the numbers, people in queue wanting to be vaccinated will still have the opportunity to be vaccinated even beyond next week. But as to exactly when the exercise will end, he says it will depend on the number of vaccines that are available. Don't forget that Ashanti region, we are doing 70,300 out of the 110,000 people who need the vaccine. So even if they say after weekend, or say Monday, Tuesday, they still have the vaccines, they continue to serve the general public until the vaccines are exhausted.
All right, thank you very much, Oheming. Let's go to Eliasu Tanko, who we were trying to reestablish contact with earlier to get to understand how the region or the authorities in the region are preparing for the spillage of the Bagre Dam in Burkina Faso. Hello, Eliasu.
Yes, it's right.
All right, so how are the authorities or how is the region preparing for spillage of the Bagre Dam?
Well, like I was saying, yesterday there was an inauguration of a regional disaster management committee. The deputy director of NADMO, Abu Ramadan himself, did the inauguration yesterday. And I was saying that the Operation Thunderbolt team is currently in Wale Wale. They have pitched camp and they are monitoring the situation in all the 5 regions. And they are here with the heavy equipment. They are saying they are ready to do any rescue mission. Yesterday, the overlord of the Mampuku traditional area was also extensively briefed about the situation in the region. As you know, 9 persons have lost their 11 people have died so far. And the NADMO, as I said, they are currently in the communities helping people to evacuate. And they are also ensuring that those people that they have not been able to get to, especially the Mampuku-Maduri area, they are putting measures in order to get to them, to know their situation really. And they are also saying that they have relief items on standby in case of any serious emergency. As we speak, the NADMO here are not able to tell us exactly when the dam will be spilled by the Burkinabe authorities. And so they are still putting up, they are still putting in place measures. And they are saying that they are fully prepared for the spillage of the Bagre Dam.
All right, thank you very much, Eliasu Tanko, for that update. We move to the Upper West region and to Rafiq Salam. Hello, Rafiq. What can you report as far as your area is concerned? All right, so Rafiq, we're still trying to reestablish that connection to Rafiq Salam, but we still have Joshua Samoa with us, and we'll be coming to you, Joshua, in a bit for you to give us the weekend forecast for the rest of the country. But let's go to Rafiq now. Rafiq, you tell us what's happening in the Upper West region.
Hello, Israel.
Yes, Rafiq, we can hear you. We can hear and see you.
The issues that came to the fore in the Upper West region during the course of this week has to do with this teen mothers. About nearly 700 of them became pregnant and went back to school.
Yes, that's one very interesting story we'll come to in a bit. But I want us to start with the rains, and I know that you have had your fair share of floods and destruction to roads and all of that. But did yesterday's rain also impact the region?
Yes, it rained cats and dogs in the region yesterday. It started around 3:57 and then ended around midday. And so most roads in the region, there were floods that cut off the region from the Upper East region, and also some communities were cut off from the other. And so since this morning, the information that I'm getting is that the water has receded in some of the places. And so the devastation in Upper West region is too damning and is too colossal.
Do you still have the clouds forming this morning, or you're having some sunshine?
We are yet to get sunshine. It's still cloudy here in the Upper West region, and that's what worries lots of people in the Upper West region, because here's the situation: we didn't have better roads, we don't have better facilities, and then if these rains continue that way, the people have fears that most houses will collapse, and also their farms will also submerge. And let me also tell you that contractors are also busily working on the major roads. Now, the Yiziri and then also the Boriri has been opened to traffic. And then also Maums is also on the other side around the Balerbe area between Dung and the FEMA. They are also on course to opening that area to traffic. And so they are doing well in those areas. But the major worry of the people now is that now the government is attempting to fix the rules, the major rules. They want government to concentrate on the feeder roads, because there are some communities in the Upper West region now who are still cut off and they can't come to their district capitals. And so they want government to have its eye on those feeder roads too as well.
Now I'm trying to imagine how the more rains, it's going to impact on the roads that are being fixed, because there was initial rain and it caused distraction to some roads. Some communities were cut off. Some of these roads that you're saying have been fixed or are being fixed. If you're getting more rain, I can imagine that it's going to make the situation even worse.
Yes, that's the worry of the residents here, Israel. And, you know, once it's raining, our rivers, lakes are swollen at the moment. And even Bagare Dam is yet to be spilled. And we are yet to get the impact right here in the Upper West. So the people are really worried about what will happen in the next few days. But, you know, the only good thing is that yesterday's rain came with floods. The floods were not violent, and that's why we didn't have this destruction. Unless the one that we had on August 12th, which was violent, and then also was with a lot of power, speed, and then also who submit lots of farm acres. And so that's really the worry of the people in our post here. Here's the case. I remember one person saying that God really, what happened in Europe, God really wanted to take their feet. But that in the case of the Upper West region, God really wants to punish the people because they don't have the engineering ability to work on their roads like it happened in other parts of Europe.
All right, thank you very much, Rafiq. But I want you to hold on for us. We'll come to the conversation about the teenage pregnancies that happened in the region. But I'd want us to go to Joshua Samoa, who's with Ghana Meteo, for him to give us a wrap of the weather situation, especially going into the weekend. And then we can return to you, Rafiq. So, Joshua, so you tell us, what's the weather looking like for the weekend? And when should we expect, you know, the unusual rain in any part of the country?
All right. So basically, in the next 24 hours, areas that are likely to experience rains will be there.
As early as 24 hours? So as early as 24 hours, you should expect some rain in some parts of the country?
Well, the intensity will not be as much as the one they have. Just some moderate rains, but there's still possibility of rains over parts of the Ashanti and Western North regions and parts of the Eastern region as well. For us along the coast, it will just be generally cloudy, some breaks of sunshine, and then some slight rain for the next 24 hours. On Saturday, we're expecting that the morning will be cloudy for the eastern side of the coast. So from the Volta to the Greater Accra regions, we'll be getting cloudy conditions with some pockets of rains. It will be slight for the coastline areas. That's the Tishinungwa, Keta, Abdina areas. But for the inland areas, it will be a bit moderate, not heavy rainfall though. So we should not be so worried. And then on Sunday, we're expecting some higher intensity for areas in the eastern and parts of the Greater Accra and Volta regions. Still not so much heavy. We'll keep you updated on that event as and when the days go by, so that we'll get to know when to expect the rainfall. But for now, the rains that we're expecting on Sunday will come after midday.
All right. Thank you very much, Joshua Asamoah, for bringing us a comprehensive update and forecast of the weather going into the weekend. It simply means that it's going to be a cloudy weekend. If you have to go anywhere, you want to go have fun, remember to take your umbrellas and your raincoats, and you stay safe. We're back to Rafiq Salam, who was telling us about the teenage pregnancies in the region. Okay, so Rafiq, what is happening? Why are so many of the young ladies there getting pregnant?
For me, doing these stories, there was one thing that came to mind.
All right.
Because if you have close to 700 girls becoming pregnant during this short break, so are we saying that the school is far better than our homes? Because if you have children close to about 700 during this.
Right, since we have lost the connection to Rafiq Salam, I hope we can get to resolve it. But this issue about teenage pregnancies in the airport region is quite worrying. The fact that you're having some nearly 700 girls, teenagers, getting pregnant because of the long COVID break, and the fact that they couldn't be in school, and now they're back in school, and lots of them that pregnant. Let's go back to that story. We'll be back hopefully with Rafiq Salam in a bit.
Chilling account of a single night stand of 17-year-old junior high school one student that made her to drop out of school.
He wasn't even my boyfriend. He forced me, and that was my first time too. So we tried our best, but she did not accept it. So by now I'm staying in my father's house, and he's taking good care of me. Everything that I need, he will give it to me. So by now, God willing, next month maybe either I can deliver or not, by the grace of God.
Ever since she became pregnant 8 months ago, her father has been on the heels on the man to own up the pregnancy and take full responsibility, but he wouldn't budge.
4 months pregnant before I was in the school, but when I got 5 months pregnant, then I left the school. So I came back and I sit at home. Now it's 8 months now. I left school. So the boy that I heard him gets pregnant, he told me that he's not the one. So finally my father accepted, and he's helping me to buy everything that I will need for the hospital and the baby's things and everything that we need for the pregnancy now.
Another is a 17-year-old who dropped out of school at junior high school too.
The first time I was in a Form 2 and I got the pregnant. So my parents didn't have money to take care of me, and I got pregnant with one man. So I didn't go to school again.
The duo is part of 100 girls from Isa, Fiang, Bure, and Wogu who dropped out of school. With support from Life Again, a non-governmental organization, they are ready to be back at school, though with more responsibilities. The Upper West Region's Directorate of the Ghana Education Service pegged the number of girls who returned to school pregnant at nearly 700. Juxtaposing figures from the Ghana Health Service, Chief Executive Officer of Life Again, Saudoto Mohammed, kept the numbers in the region higher than the one reported by the Ghana Education Service.
Last year, COVID hit us, and we saw that a lot of girls became pregnant. according to statistics, we have about 110,000 girls between the ages of 10 to 19 years who became pregnant, and most of these girls dropped out of school. In the Upper West region here, we have close to 4,000 girls, and for me, I believe this is even a reduced figure, because these are figures, or these are girls who have visited the facilities, health facilities.
Right, so that's the story of the rise in teenage pregnancies in the Upper West region. Rafik has rejoined us. So Rafik, you're trying to make some meaning to what is happening in the region.
I'm saying that the people of the Upper West region are really shocked about the numbers that have been churned out by the Ghana Health Services regarding the number of teens that were pregnant number a little below 5,000. And also in the case of the Ghana Education Service, they are saying that close to 700 of these teen mothers returned to school after COVID. And so the situation is really worrying for the people right here. But I was trying to say that there's a big question mark here, which needs to be answered. Are we saying that, if we are saying that these teen mothers, nearly 700 girls became pregnant during this short break of COVID, so clearly means that, are we suggesting that the school or the teachers are better managers of our teens than our homes? That's the question that people are putting out there, because if you have these teens become pregnant this short period when they were not at school, but they were at home, are we saying that there's lack of parental irresponsibility? And so many people in the Upper West region, yes, though they blame somewhere the break or the break in the education system, but they are also blaming parents as well, because they think that it isn't the best. Here in the Upper West region, if you even listen carefully to some of the teen mothers, they are saying that yes, their parents couldn't take care of them because no, free food at their various schools, at their various homes, because they used to go for this school feeding, and they used to take this food. Now they're at home, there's no food, and they have no other option than to go to these men who will really give them, to part something out with them. And so it's really worrying. And so people in the Upper West region, they are not really enthused about those figures that have been churned out by the Ghana Health Service. But partly they also would like parents to take a greater part of the blame.
All right, thank you very much, Rafik. And yes, we'd expect parents to be a bit more responsible when it comes to their children. But yes, there's also the case of poverty. And if the parents are unable to fend for their kids, then the kids also tend to find time to, follow or take up these baits that come with them. But Rafik, earlier in the week, your wife celebrated her birthday, and you wrote a really lovely piece of message for her, and everybody else thinks that you're one of the most romantic correspondents in this country. So congratulations to you, and our regards to your wife, Princess.
Grateful. The Princess is also very grateful to the JoyNews team for what you have been able to put up, because she's part of me and also part of the report that we do. Sometimes we do voice in here, and so some of the voices, some of the stories that we do that has to deal with women, and she has to do that part bit for us. So she's also very grateful.
All right, so Mr. Romantic, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, very grateful.
All right, and there's some more happy birthdays or birthday dedications to do. The happy birthday to you, Daveta Opoku from Daddy Wafa Small and Mama Asabia. And then today's COP Yagi Akuriba's 60th birthday. He's the Director General for the National Patrol Directorate of the Ghana Police Service, and he is retiring today. All right, so as you retire from the police service, we want to thank you. We want to thank God for having seen you through this journey. We love and cherish you so much. And this is from your lovely wife, Mrs. Evelyn Damesi Yage of Summer Spring Restaurant, Akuse. And we also have Kofi Siao, our Eastern Regional Correspondent, to bring us up to speed with what is happening in the region. Or rather, it's Kofi Siao's birthday, apparently. Okay, so happy birthday to you, Kofi Siao. We're expecting you to join us to give us an update on the weather situation, but that's all good. And then we have another dedication, this time Benedicta Yayura Kofi. It's also your birthday. So yes, we have quite a number of birthdays, and we've put together a nice song. I hope it's not ABBA, because we have other artists. So Abrantie Abwaje, it's also your birthday. Enjoy the song. Also, Samantha Laye and Jennifer Cosmos. Enjoy. So the Black Stars, they're playing against Ethiopia at the Cape Coast Stadium, but people are not so excited about it. So yeah, we're asking you, how do we bring back the love? Michael Royce on Facebook says, the last time Ghana was in the World Cup qualifying group with South Africa, they ended up qualifying for the Mondial. I guess you're thinking what I'm thinking. So he's looking at the countries we are in the group with. So Ghana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Ethiopia. So we're playing Ethiopia today. John Kujo says it's normal due to the current state of the country, but I hope things will get back to normal. Edem Exto says a massive win in today's match will initiate that. Prince Botre says just 4 goals by the Stars will revive it. Fresh Prince says, please, what time will the game start? I believe it's 7 p.m. So that's for you, Fresh Prince. Kofi Owusu Dankwa says they'll score Ghana. Oh, you don't look like someone who wants to bring back the love. Emmanuel Greatness says it's a group of death. Jeho Dodu says Saka Kufado. What would that do? And George Kari says reduce the winning bonus. Matthew Efa says Ghana and South Africa will qualify in this group. Ni Ajano Teno says, I pray you don't qualify because the taxpayers' money already suffering in the hands of politicians. Let's get on to the phone. And John Singh is calling from Takwa. Hello, John Singh. Hello, John Singh.
Hello.
All right. So what do you make of the upcoming match, the Black Stars match against Ethiopia?
Oh, at the moment we are playing here in Takwa that Black Stars should win today's game. And we are praying that they should qualify for the African Cup of Nations and further to the World Cup. That's what we are praying for.
Okay. All right. But what do you make of, there seems to be, euphoria seems to be down. Do you have any ideas why this is so? All right, we lost John Singh from Takwa. We have Jake joining us on Zoom. Hello, Jake. Hello, Jake. All right, Jake, what do you make of the Black Stars match against Ethiopia today? Hello, Jake. Can you hear me, Jake? All right, I don't know what's happening with Jake, but Latif is calling from Bole. Hello, Latif.
Abdul Majid, please.
All right. So what do you make of the match today?
In fact, I've been discouraged by the sports journalists of Ghana.
Oh, why?
That's why I don't even have interest in watch Ghana football.
Why have you been discouraged? What have they done?
I don't know. They used to welcome people that are able to do something for them. Always they will come and try to probably names that are always good to them. But those that are better, they will never mind them. So I just lose courage in Black Stars. It's not politics. This is not politics. They should leave politics away. The coaches themselves and the selection of players they send to World Cup or Africa Cup is not helping us. They should calm down. We have players around here, but they don't care. You never see any good player from North here. I think we are just in the bush. So we are pleading with them. They should try them possible best. At least we have players in the Bole Bamboy, Savannah region. You never see any of them in the national team. I think we are not Ghanaians.
All
we are
right.
appealing to the authorities to come down. Bring sports. We don't have football pitches. We don't have them in Bole Bambo yet. We are suffering. So we wish them well, and God willing, we are going to the World Cup. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Abdul Majid. So Abdul Majid is calling from Bole. He called from Bole, and he's not happy that we're not seeing a lot of people from the northern region or the northern part of the country being featured in the Black Stars. And he feels that the authorities should come there and tap some more talents. Let's go to Joseph, who's joining us via Zoom. Hello, Joseph.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. So what's the match looking like, the Black Stars match looking like for you this evening?
Okay, now, first of all, before I talk about your question, I want to answer the main question, as in how do we bring back the love for Black Stars?
Yes.
Well, I think it's a good initiative Joy TV have started. In fact, the love was down for me and my family, but this initiative, I think it's gradually coming. Now, with today's match, I'm sure we would all be supporting them. All we have to do is keep on praying for them. And the two submissions that my earlier contributors also brought out, I think it's also in line. So the coach should also try and then listen to it. And I'm sure if other media houses should also try to advocate for our love and our support for the Black Stars, I think eventually it will come. So kudos to Joy.
All right. Thank you very much. We have Vero also calling from Dominase. Hello, Vero. How do we bring back the love?
Hello.
Hello, Vero. Yes, we can hear you.
I think Ghana will win this match.
All right.
Last time we win 2 goals to 1.
Okay. And how do we bring back the love? Hello, Vero. How do we bring back the love? All right. Seem not to hear Vero any longer, but thank you very much for calling. We have some others also joining us via Zoom, and so we're going to be taking their thoughts in a bit, but I'd want us to refresh and see what other comments we have coming through on Facebook. A number of you have been commenting, so we'll get to that and let's see. All right, so let's go to, okay, so Kofi Osudankwa says, he said the Ethiopia is going to score Ghana, and Kwesi Lava says, let's bet. And Kofi Osu says, go to Betway. Okay, when the day you stopped being a captain? Oh. And then Yarima says, hey, this group is easy. If they don't qualify, dear, I'm done with supporting Black Stars forever. Bright says it as well. Well, I will eat before the game starts. I don't trust these boys. So Said wanted us to know the time. So it's 9 p.m., 7 p.m., I believe. 9 p.m. is quite late. Okay. Yes, so it's 7 p.m. I do says we don't want to get high BP. All right. Okay, so thanks very much, those of you joining us. As we couldn't take any more, we would have to move on and bring you Latif Abubakar's Play Something Must Kill Him. And it was staged yesterday. IB was there, and he's bringing us this report.